Hi, everybody. It's Deborah Carter here with another fantastic Preparation Tech interview. Today, I'm speaking with Gloria Tumushabe, a young woman from Uganda who is studying computer science for a master's degree in Berkeley, California. Gloria came to my attention because a friend lives in Berkeley and saw in the newspaper a wonderful article about Gloria. Gloria, although she's based in California, is actually teaching young women in Uganda how to code. So Gloria is going to tell the story because she can tell it best. Welcome, Gloria. We're so happy to have you. Let's start off with you telling us who you are and what you do and how it relates to technology.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. Nice to be here, and thanks for the chance to interview with you. I basically came from Uganda 5 years ago, about 5 years ago, because I'm currently in my fifth year, and I've been here at UC Berkeley. My first year, I came and I wanted to be an engineer. So when I came, I got very interested in computer science, and I was like, I should do electrical engineering and computer science, and I liked it. I liked what I was doing. I liked that I was being very creative and very challenged. And so I went on to even get to do my master's because I liked the field, and all the internships I got to do challenged me in a way that I knew that this is something I wanted to do. But what I'm doing currently, I'm teaching girls in Uganda, and that's because I'm very passionate about what I do, but I also want to be able to increase the number of Black women in computer science and African women particularly, because very few women in Africa are coding or are in the coding scene. So I feel like it's a very good chance to do that.
Awesome. This is such a great initiative. Tell us a bit more about it. How did you set it up? And how do you actually teach women in Uganda when you're in California, they're in Africa, they may not have access to Wi-Fi or computers? How does it all work?
Okay, so when the pandemic started, that was around March. Um, I knew that it was my chance to actually start teaching because people are home, and universities in Uganda were closed and even schools were closed. So it was like everyone is home. And so it's a lockdown. It's probably a good chance to reach out to people and try to teach. But I'd been thinking about it. I'd thought about it for days before, like months before. I had been thinking about it for years. Like, I really like to teach. And I tutored at UC Berkeley before. I had taught some people like different classes in computer science, but I wanted also to be able to impact my community. So I got to reach out to different people. Like, I sent messages on WhatsApp to different groups and organizations. I reached out to like my boss and different people that I knew could probably reach me out to, like, connect me to different people that could be able to help and get me like a network or get me women who are willing to learn. So I got a very like overwhelming response because so many women reached out to me. They're like, hey, can I join? I want to learn. And it was nice to be able to get that. It was sad that not everyone had a laptop. Some people had a laptop, other people did not. And they were asking me if they could code on their phones, but it wasn't possible for me to tell them they can code on their phones because what I wanted to teach, you needed to have a laptop to be able to do. So it wasn't possible. So ultimately, I ended up with about 13 people who were interested and had laptops and could access the internet, but did not have Wi-Fi. So the only way they were able to access the internet is like by using data bundles. So they load them on their phones and the hotspot. And during the program, when we started, the first week wasn't that rough, and then the second week, people stopped coming to the classes because they don't have enough internet, or some people couldn't finish the assignment because they don't have internet, and they were telling me, the internet is taking like all the data bundles are getting finished from the downloading. So I was like, I'm going to start sending them internet out of my pocket so that they can be able to continue the program, because I realized it was just very hard for so many of them to afford internet to keep going. And that's so we kept going, and I felt like they were learning more, and it wasn't that difficult for me to, like, I didn't feel bad every time I did it, even if I did not have much to give them. I was thinking, these people are learning, these people are growing, and there's so much that they're going to change about the world. So I kept going, and I'm glad to see where they are now.
Awesome. I can imagine. I have an organization that teaches boys and girls coding and computer science. And although the boys may be technically better at building robots, the girls are quick learners. And when they learn, they're actually almost outperforming boys. So it's awesome that you're targeting a group that's probably been overlooked in Africa as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great. So
Mhm.
Africa, it's the population is booming. It's coming into its own. I mean, I think the future is going to be very bright for Africa. Where do you see the women and yourself in terms of building up Africa's technology and innovation capability? What are you hoping for?
So, like right now, there's so many startups that are emerging in a lot of African countries. There's so many startups, and there's so many creative ideas. Also, we have a very young population. Like our population is young, and people are very energetic, and people want to create, and people want to build. So, I can envision a continent where like every single day someone is building something that's making things better in health, in education, in like it really hurts me that so many people cannot do online education, and so many people have been home for over a year because they can't do online school. The system hasn't really adapted to a point where everyone can be home and study in the comfort of their home. So we're heading there, where there will be like platforms that will enable all of that, and not even just that, like so much more. So I'm pretty excited to see like how the future of technology looks like. But I know for women particularly is, I think technology is going to give them financial independence and a chance to be able to build their own applications, their own businesses. There's so many women run businesses, but do they have visibility on the internet? That's another thing. So this chance for them to learn is going to empower them to be like, I'm putting my business out there and I'm growing it. And not even just business, they're going to be able to use that to build like technology in the health sector. I see this really changing for a lot of women and making them like builders and innovators. And the other thing is, I've had a lot of women in my life, and a lot of them are very thoughtful. So I can see how this thoughtfulness is going to be like used in their mentality as they build technology, so that it's just not technology, just it's equitable too. Like it serves everyone, especially for people who've been oppressed. You think I need to make something that actually works for everyone. So I look forward to that. I'm excited.
And it shows. And funny enough, tomorrow I'm going to be interviewing someone called Prince Stephen Anor, who's based in Abu Dhabi. And he works for an organization called Suwa Code. And their specialty is teaching kids and young people to code via mobile phones. So I'm going to connect you guys because that might be something that you can integrate into your business too to reach
Mm-hmm.
more women.
Yeah, I've been honestly, ever since the story went out, people have been reaching out to me. They're like, oh, we could see how to do like a way of teaching people who don't even have laptops and see what we can do. Because someone was like, I have a good idea. Can we speak? So it was so nice to know that there's all these other options that I also don't really know about. So I'm very open to learning and being able to integrate them. So yeah, definitely. I'll be so happy to connect
Okay,
with them.
I promise I will connect you guys. So before
Thanks.
me, I have a beautiful Black African woman who's excited about computer science and technology in the future. Tell us about your childhood. Take us back. How did you grow up? What kind of child were you? Were you always into computers? Did you like math? What were your parents like? Who were your role models? Tell us.
Okay, so I have very good memories about my childhood. I hope I don't break down, but I enjoyed growing up and I had a very good experience. Like my family was always very warm and loving. And so they gave me an environment where I grew up very happy and also very willing to learn. So when I was younger, I liked math. I remember I always liked math, and my dad would joke about it and be like, look at you, like look at my girl, she's winning everyone. And then he would even ask me, what do you want me to do for you? And I was always like, I would run out of ideas because he wanted to motivate me every single time I had an accomplishment in class, and I always felt good. My mom encouraged me, my siblings, like I grew up in an environment where everyone knew I was a winner. So I didn't know anything about computers at that time, and I didn't know anything about computer science, but I knew I was doing well in school, and everyone made me feel so good about it. I always came home and I felt like I was somewhere in the stars. So it felt really good. And it was so motivating for me to even work harder. My childhood inspired me so much, and my role models were my parents when I was young, because all of them really supported education, and they talked about how important it was for us to go through school. And they made it seem like, okay, you know what, it's possible to go out there and do your best. So even when I got a scholarship, they celebrated so much. They slaughtered a goat, and then they like had a whole feast. So it was pretty good. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And so you got a scholarship and you were able to go to UC Berkeley, which is like a great school. So I can imagine they slaughtered that goat. It must have tasted good too. So what happened there? Because you have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and computer science, but with a minor in theater, dance, and performance studies. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a non-traditional combination. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I came, I was far away from home. First of all, it wasn't easy being far away, but I was able to make friends and, adjust to being here. And some of those friends that I made are actually helping me out with the program as tutors, as mentors, which is nice because I came and they helped me like adjust to being here, but they've also stuck and been around for me. So I was doing like computer science and learning how to code, but I was always very passionate about telling African stories. And because of my experience, just like growing up and being around people, I grew up around my grandmother too. She was like there for us, and then she passed in 2013. But before she passed, there was so many memories about her and the things that she told us about her life. So I was like, I think I need to tell these stories and like write them somewhere. So that's how I ended up like taking my first theater class. And then after that, I met a professor and I was like, I want to get into like writing and playwriting and see like how it is. And this professor was so nice to me, and he was like, yeah, you can do it. I think more African stories need to be told. So I tried it out and I was like, oh, I like it. Maybe I could stay longer. So I ended up like just taking more classes and writing more plays. And it was something I did in the evening, or when I was like, oh, I'm trying to work on my code and it's not working out. And I think that's the one thing about computer science. It won't always work out the first time. It may not work out the second, it might not even work out the third, but you just have to keep going. So there were times I'd get stuck. So instead of just sitting there and being sad, I'm like, let me find something that gives me joy and do it, and then come back to something that gives me joy too and try to fix it. So it was always like an outlet for me, and it still is. Sometimes I'll write, and I'm writing more stories even now. Once in a while, I'll get out of my classes. I'm like, this is tiring. I feel like my brain is tired because it can get tiring. So let me take a break, maybe 30 minutes to write something. And yeah, so that's how I ended up in theater, and I like it. I think it's and I think there's so many chances too for people to tell these stories, African stories. Not all of them are out there, but we have very many interesting stories and very many storytellers too. So I'm now like collecting these stories from people, and it's so nice to be able to put them in writing, because sometimes you never know, I could release them.
You could be the next huge Black filmmaker, right? Netflix. I mean, if you look at Netflix, they're doing way more programming around Africa. So let's hope that you are going to be one of your plays or your film scripts will be taken by Netflix, and we'll be seeing your work all over the
I
world.
hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I do it for fun, and it's something that I do. But then I feel like, and even some of my girls who are learning coding now, they ask me, they're like, "Well, I'm interested in computer science, but I also like fashion." So I tell them, you can do both. And I always tell people, like, you don't have to be just a computer programmer. You can do so many things, and you can integrate it in your field. Like, you can make work easier for you. So now my students are coming up with, oh, I want to be able to do this, but I also want to do this, because I think they look at my story and it motivates them to think, I have the ability to do many things with my life, and why not? So it's exciting.
Wonderful. Now, in May, you're going to graduate with your master's degree. What's next?
So when I graduate in May, I hope to start working here in the Bay Area as a software engineer for hopefully a few years. And then I want to get more skills. I want to get more networks. And I want to use that opportunity to be able to connect more girls to mentors to motivate them, which is one of the reasons why I want to be in a scene in the Silicon Valley and, connect with more people who are learning and doing all these things and building more technologies so that I can get all this knowledge and be able to take it back at some point and impact it, like give it to people in the continent, especially women.
Wow. So you've got a foot in both Africa and the US. What has both what have both places taught you? What are the lessons about tech and innovation that you've learned from Africa, and what are the lessons you've learned from America?
So one of the main lessons I've learned, I'll start with what I've learned from America because I've been here quite some time, is that honestly, it's okay to duplicate ideas and add your innovation to them. So there will never be enough, never be enough like shopping apps. Like you can create a shopping app and add something to it. Maybe a shopping app that specializes in like women products, and maybe it's connecting these women products to schools. Like there's so many things that people can be able to change around. Like every single day someone is coming up with a startup and I'm like, I think I've heard about something that does that. And then I look it up and I'm like, oh, I can see a small difference, but this was very thoughtful. So I think it's taught me that the technology industry is not going to be saturated. Like there's so much more that's coming in, and anyone can be able to create something that's similar to something that exists. And it's not copying, it's just picking motivation and inspiration and adding your taste to it. So at first I used to think, well, there was enough of everything. So, I can be able to shop if I want to, I can be able to get an Uber if I want to, but there's so many things that are coming up. So it's very exciting. And that has taught me that keep going with these ideas, just don't stop. Then the one thing that the technology scene has taught me in Africa is people are very willing to learn. Like people are I've never seen a population so willing to learn like the way people are in Africa. And people are very passionate. Like it makes me think, well, there's all these things that are being started, but what if every day a company was started in Africa the same way that they're being started in America? I don't know. People would be very challenged. People would be enjoying it because the zeal that I see from my students and also from the people that reach out to me saying, oh, I want to be part of Afro Fem Coders, I ask them why. People have so many reasons why they want to learn how to code, and I haven't seen that here. I'll meet people and ask them, why do you like to code? Some people will tell me, oh, it's nice, it makes good money. And then someone would tell me, I get creative and I'm able to, feel good when I finish my work. But in Africa, when I talk to people and ask them why they want to learn how to code, oh my God, like the reasons behind like people's intentions to get into the tech scene are completely amazing. So that's like two of the things. So combining those two and knowing there's so many things being started here, and then going back home and realizing there's so many intentional people who really want to learn how to code, and they want to learn for so many reasons. I want to change women's health. How? I'm like, people are telling me how there's so many diseases that could affect women, and they want to be able to create an app that could help them detect it. And I'm like, this is like an 18-year-old person who has never even owned a computer, but they're thinking about all these things. So those are the two things. It honestly makes me very happy to have like both sides and feel the motivation.
Yeah, awesome. So you're a Black African woman in California. You've worked in Africa, you're in America. What are some of the hardships that you've experienced? And more importantly, what strategies have you developed to deal with and overcome these hardships?
So obviously, there's not that many Black women in computer science classes, even here at UC Berkeley. I know it's a top institution that teaches computer science, but it's not that many of us. So sometimes I'll be the only Black woman in my classes, and it's very easy to feel alone. It's very easy to feel like, do I belong here? Especially when you notice that people are maybe friends with each other, and you have to make that step to try and make friends, and sometimes it's not really easy. So it's very easy to feel alone, and imposter syndrome is real. Like when I came from Uganda, I knew I was top of my classes. I knew I was really good at what I do, I never felt like an imposter at all. When I came to America and I got in my classes, and then I started feeling alone. And sometimes, it's not easy to find project partners because some people already have friends. And then I think, is it because of the color of my skin? Sometimes it is. That is the truth. But it makes me feel like an imposter. I start thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. And I don't like to think that, but it's the truth. Like many people feel that way in a lot of classes. Many people feel that way even in their workplaces. So what I did when I started feeling that way, I was like, I have a community of Black women who are amazing. It's called the Sister Circle Black Women in Tech. And I was like, I'm going to reach out there and actually post. I say, I'm feeling like an imposter. Sometimes I feel like I don't belong here. And I was able to write just a candid post about how I was feeling. I got overwhelming response. People reached out to me. They're like, I feel like that too. I felt like that. I finished my PhD. I'm working as a senior manager, but I feel like that all the time. And it's okay to feel like that, but just remind yourself you're here for a reason. So this community has over 7,000 women who are Black and they're around the world. So it's like very nice to be able to hear all these perspectives. I got over 50 responses of people telling me, you can do it. So it's helped me cope even when I feel down. Some of them are like my friends now, and I can reach out and be like, hey, I'm feeling this way. And I've gotten a strong support system of friends and people here to be able to talk to and be like, I don't feel okay. I'm feeling stressed out. And not only because of the technical stuff in my classes, but because of feeling that feeling of feeling like, oh, I'm alone, I could give up. Why is there not many people like me? So I think my community here, my parents always reminding me how I was so good at what I'm doing, and that hasn't stopped. And then the sister circle is just like, it's a blessing. So I've been able to cope. People are a big resource. Like people change it for you. So
awesome. The sisterhood is real, right?
it honestly is. Like I think about it even when I was preparing for my technical interviews. I had people volunteer. I can help you. I can do a few mock interviews. And these people who've never met you, they don't even know you. Most of them can't pronounce my name, but they really care about my success. They care about me. And I'm like, I like being there. Every time I'm there, I feel at home. So it's good. And it's an online community. So
awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
I'm going to definitely check that out. Question
Mm-hmm.
for you, because we need more Glorias in this world. What is your advice on how schools can actually prepare kids for study paths and career paths in technology?
So the one important thing is when people are younger, I think it's good to introduce them to some of these things. I got to know about tech and CS when I was much older, but I think honestly, and one of the things that made me think that I could do it was when I was in high school, I was in my robotics, in the school robotics team. So there wasn't like coding as such, but we were able to think of ideas, and I was able to think, oh, I think I could want them to have a smart car that maybe has an automatic seat belt or something like that. And I was able to present my ideas at the National Science Fair. And we ended up getting the best project when we did that. So, like thinking back at those ideas and helping young people, not even just only in high school, but young people are like in primary school, like think, what if you had technology, what would you do with it? Like if you wanted to build something, how would it look like? So it's like an introduction that even if people have computers, why not teach the people how to code and like show them a few games? Kids like games, and maybe ask them to learn how to make those games. That would be great.
Oh, I'm just enjoying your energy and this interview. I have one last question for you, and that is, how are you, Gloria Tumushabe, making tech history? What is the legacy that you want to leave for the Black community and society in general?
So one of the things that I really want to do is to be able to empower women and make them feel like they can be able to learn in a safe, inspiring space. I think the future of education, computer science education on the African continent is really big because there's so many young people and there's so many people who are willing to learn. But while I'm doing this and empowering women, I want to do it in such a way that it's an all round thing. They're not only thinking, I'm going to learn computer science, but they're going to be motivated, they're going to be very confident, So that's why, like, I think connecting mentors to these women around the world is going to make them believe you don't have to only make change in your area, you can make change around the world. They'll be able to have these conversations. And at the end of the day, I'm creating a global space because through these mentorship connections with all these people, it's going to be a global space where people learn ideas, form ideas, and change the whole world. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be like a global village, as it should be.
As it should be. And what a wonderful way to end the interview. Gloria, thank you so much. You are so inspiring. And I love that even if you're not in Africa, you are inspiring and helping African people, and you are lighting a fire that is going to go all the way from Silicon Valley to Africa. So I wish you all the success in the world. I'm going to keep following your exploits, and I just wish you the best.
Thank you.